Breathing. It's the first thing we do when we enter this world, and the last when we leave. An unconscious rhythm that carries us through every moment of our lives. But what if this seemingly mundane function holds far more power than we realize? What if breath isn't just a mechanical exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, but a forgotten language between the psyche and the body, a language of healing, transformation, and truth? Modern society has created a myth of separation. Body versus mind, science versus spirit, control versus surrender. We've built a culture addicted to stimulation, medication, and disembodiment. In this chaos, we've abandoned the most ancient wisdom available to us, the breath. Yet within this simple act lies a profound potential, one that philosophers like Jung and Schopenhauer might argue touches the very core of the human condition. The breath is a bridge, a sacred, involuntary act that becomes conscious the moment we choose awareness over automation. With each deliberate inhale, we silence the compulsive chatter of the ego. With every exhale, we release the illusions that bind us. Deep intentional breathing is not merely wellness advice, it's a radical return to presence. It is shadow work in motion, the invitation to sit with discomfort, to metabolize repressed emotions, to awaken to the body we often treat like a machine. Chronic stress, now endemic to modern life, is a psychic wound disguised as normalcy. Our institutions have medicalized its symptoms while ignoring its spiritual roots. High blood pressure, digestive disorders, immune dysfunction. These are not just physiological events, but existential signals. The body is screaming what the soul cannot articulate, that we are out of alignment, out of breath, out of touch with what it means to be fully human. And yet, studies, finally catching up to ancient practice, reveal that focused breathing lights up the brain's emotional and self-awareness centers. It reduces cortisol levels, enhances neuroplasticity, and restores balance to our autonomic nervous system. In the language of Nietzsche, this is the will to power turned inward, a self overcoming through awareness, not repression. Consider this. When you are anxious, where is your breath? Shallow, scattered, neglected. And when you weep, when grief erupts from deep within, your breath slows, elongates, trembles. It speaks before you can. Deep breathing is a descent into the unconscious, the same descent Jung described as the path to individuation. It is how we confront the shadow without judgment, how we process the trauma that otherwise calcifies in the tissue of the body. Our immune system, too, listens. Gabor Mate's work reveals how unprocessed emotional pain, especially repressed anger, undermines immunity, opening the door to disease. Deep breathing then becomes more than relaxation. It is a practice of sovereignty, a way to reclaim agency over the body's most subtle defenses. The lymphatic system, often forgotten in Western medicine, requires movement and breath to flow. Without it, we stagnate. We decay, spiritually and physically. Digestion, too, is a mirror of our inner state. As Schopenhauer might suggest, the gut is not just a biological function, but a reflection of the will turned inward. Stress distorts it. Deep breathing restores it. When we engage the diaphragm, we massage the viscera. We return to the parasympathetic, the domain of rest, digest, integrate. We allow life, not just food, to be assimilated. This isn't about spiritual bypassing. Breathing doesn't erase pain, it creates space for it. It doesn't solve your existential crisis. It reveals that you were never meant to escape it. Breathwork is not a hack, it is a confrontation, a rebellion against the numbing, dissociative patterns we've inherited. To breathe deeply is to say, I am here, I am willing to feel, I will not run from my own soul. And so, we return to the beginning, to breath, not as a survival mechanism but as a philosophy. A path. Each inhale is a resurrection, each exhale a letting go. The breath does not lie, it does not manipulate or posture, it simply is. And in a world where truth is buried beneath layers of performance, breathing may be the most radical act of honesty we have left. But here's the uncomfortable truth. In modern life, the stress response doesn't just switch on when danger strikes. It lingers, festers, becomes habitual. Our ancestors faced acute threats, predators, hunger, cold. Their stress was episodic, resolved through action. Ours is chronic, psychological, and largely invisible. Mortgage payments, social expectations, doom scrolling, emotional repression. The result is a body trapped in perpetual vigilance, as if we're being hunted by a threat we can't name. This sustained activation of the sympathetic nervous system, our fight, flight, or freeze mode, comes at a heavy cost. The body begins to betray itself. Inflammation runs rampant, immune function deteriorates, and the delicate inner harmony that sustains health is shattered. But what if salvation doesn't come in the form of a pharmaceutical or even therapy, but something much older, something radical in its simplicity? Breath, intentional breathing flips the switch. Slow, deep breaths activate the parasympathetic nervous system, what ancient traditions called the healer within. This is the realm of rest and digest, where blood returns to the gut, the heart slows, muscles soften, and the body remembers safety. To breathe consciously is to whisper to your nervous system, you are not at war anymore, you may now begin to heal. We live in a society that prizes acceleration, faster results, quicker fixes, constant productivity. But the nervous system does not speak the language of speed. It listens to rhythm, stillness, consistency. Through daily breathwork, you teach your body how to exit survival mode and return to homeostasis. Over time, this isn't just a calming practice, it's reprogramming. It's neuroplasticity in action. The body, like the mind, can be taught to trust again. The implications go deeper still. The lymphatic system, our body's silent sanitation network, relies not on the heartbeat but on movement and breath to function. Without breath, toxins stagnate, immune cells drift aimlessly. Conscious breathing acts as a manual pump for the lymph, enhancing immune surveillance, accelerating detoxification, and reducing systemic inflammation. This isn't New Age fantasy, it's biology, but it's also philosophy. Each breath is a paradox, involuntary yet controllable. A physiological process, yet a gateway to the metaphysical. Inhaling with awareness is a subversive act in a world that wants you numb, distracted, overstimulated. With every breath, you reclaim agency from a system that profits off your disconnection. You become both patient and healer, both observer and participant in your own resurrection. And it doesn't take much. Even 3 to 5 minutes a day is enough to begin rewriting the body's stress narrative. This is not a supplement you forget to take. This is not another task on a productivity checklist. This is sacred ritual disguised as breath. Done daily, it becomes a quiet revolution against illness, against alienation, against the mechanical life. So let's begin. The 4-2-4 breath. Sit comfortably, feet on the earth or folded beneath you. Close your eyes. The outer world can wait. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds. Feel your ribs expand, your stomach soften. Hold the breath for 2 seconds, just enough to feel the energy settle. Then exhale through your mouth for 4 seconds, as if releasing centuries of inherited tension. Pause. Feel your heart. Repeat 6 to 8 cycles. This technique is your anchor when the storm swells, when anxiety claws at the edges of your peace. The mantra breath. This is for the fragmented mind, the spiraling psyche. Sit comfortably and bring your attention to your breath. Inhale deeply, and as you do, silently repeat, I am here. Hold that breath. As you exhale, say, I am safe. The words are simple, but they speak to a deeper truth your body needs to hear. Repeat the cycle. Let the words sink below language, down into the marrow of your being. You are not performing. You are remembering. These breathwork practices are not wellness trends. They are doorways into stillness, into sovereignty, into self. And as Sartre once said, freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. The breath is a tool. What you do with it, that's where your freedom begins. As you draw in a slow breath through your nose, don't just inhale air, invite awareness. Whisper silently to yourself. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Let the breath swell in your lungs, not as a mechanic act of survival, but as a rare encounter with the self. Then, as you exhale gently through your mouth, say, breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. This isn't a mantra to calm the surface. It's an anchor thrown deep into the unconscious, stabilizing you amid the turbulence of thought. Do this for 3, 5, or even 10 minutes, not as a task, but as an initiation into inner stillness. This is more than a technique. It's a rebellion against a world addicted to noise. Mantra breathing silences the constant looping dialogue of ego and identity. In a society obsessed with speed and external validation, returning to the breath is a radical act. Over time, it ceases to be a tool and becomes something more sacred. Ritual of self-confrontation, an opening through which grief, anger, or joy might rise and finally be felt. Then there is the belly-heart breath. It may sound poetic, even gentle, but don't mistake it for sentimentality. It is an excavation, a descent inward. Sit or lie down as if you're about to meet someone important, yourself. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Close your eyes. Feel the heat of your hands, the rise and fall of your breath, the unspoken dialogue between flesh and spirit. As you breathe in, imagine pulling the breath up from your belly, through your chest, into your heart, filling yourself with a soft, luminous light. This light isn't metaphorical. It is the subtle awareness that your body and soul are not separate. On the exhale, feel that light fall back down, washing the weight from your ribs, softening the tension in your gut. Belly to chest, chest to belly, a pendulum between the primal and the sacred. Repeat for 10 to 12 cycles. Let your mind drift, not away from the body, but deeper into it. Ask yourself, what is hiding behind this tension in my stomach? Whose grief sits heavy on my chest? These are not just muscles loosening, this is shadow work, each breath a movement toward wholeness. This isn't wellness culture fluff, this is remembering. In an age that fractures us with distraction and artificial identities, breath is an invitation to unify. It doesn't ask for gadgets, gurus, or a lifestyle. It asks for presence, a few minutes of honest attention. Start small. You don't need to meditate on a mountaintop. 5 minutes of intentional breath at the edge of your bed can be a rebellion against numbness. Begin your day with the 4-2-4 breath. 4 seconds in, 2 hold, 4 out. Not just to relax, but to remind yourself, I am not a machine. End your day with the belly-heart breath, not to escape, but to return. With time, this awareness becomes instinct. When the world tries to pull you into panic, consumerism, performance, your breath will speak first. It will guide you back to the center, not the one sold to you by culture, but the one you were born with. Your breath, ancient and unbranded, becomes your companion through grief, anxiety, confusion, joy. It is the witness to your unfolding, the ally that requires no belief system, only your willingness to pause. In a culture that profits from your disconnection, to simply breathe is to begin the revolution within. When the world tightens its grip, an argument, a looming deadline, a flood of anxiety, return to your breath, not with desperation, but with discipline. Just a few cycles of the 4-2-4 technique or a moment of mantra breath can do more than soothe your nerves. It can rupture the automatic reactions of a reactive mind, and replace them with intention, with clarity. These aren't life hacks. They're rituals. And rituals are sacred even in the secular. Light a candle, not for mysticism, but to mark time as sacred. Sit in stillness, not as escape, but as confrontation. Pair your breath with journaling, with slow walking, or with honest meditation. Rituals aren't about routine, they're about meaning. In an era of empty productivity and dopamine-chasing distraction, the deliberate act of breathing with awareness becomes an existential rebellion. Your breath is not merely oxygen exchange. It is presence. It is your last and first tether to life. It asks nothing but your awareness, yet it gives back the one thing no external source can offer, a return to yourself. The breath grounds you, not just in the body, but in being itself. Incorporate it into your yoga practice, your Tai Chi flow, or your silent walks beneath rustling leaves. Nature doesn't need your explanation, only your presence. In those moments, breathing becomes prayer, not to a god, but to the forgotten wholeness within. The greatest lie sold to modern man is that healing requires tools, experts, perfection. But the breath, it doesn't ask if you're worthy. You don't need a monastery or a retreat. You can be standing in traffic, sitting in a sterile office, locked in a difficult conversation, and still your breath is with you, always, ready to offer sanctuary. When you feel fractured by anxiety, crushed by expectation, or empty in your abundance, remember, your breath is your threshold. Inhale with courage, exhale with truth. This practice doesn't just calm your nervous system, it teaches your psyche that safety is internal, that stillness is accessible, that clarity is earned. It nurtures the immune system, yes, but more importantly, it reclaims the soul from numbness. It challenges the mechanized pharmaceutical culture that medicates disconnection rather than interrogating it. With each conscious breath you affirm, I am still here, I am still capable of knowing myself. So close your eyes right now. Take one breath as if it were your last, not in fear, but in reverence. Let that breath stretch across the vast, unseen terrain of your psyche. Let it touch the grief that's gone unspoken, the rage you buried in childhood, the longing you pretend doesn't ache. You don't need to fix it, just breathe into it. Feel what it's like to be human without fleeing. This is the beginning of healing, not perfection, not peace, but presence. And presence is the foundation for all transformation. Your lungs carry not just air, but memory, intuition, the blueprint of wholeness. You are already equipped. You've always been. Just breathe.